Good evening, Razorback fans. Welcome to a special episode of Hog Talk Podcast, coming to you inside the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios, part of the Believe and Buzz Radio Network, where you can hear us on 106.7 in Central Arkansas. We're presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark. And to give us our special guest tonight, we go via the Metters Lumber Hotline, bringing in Carlton Saffa of Saracen Casino and Resort. I know you've been on what we would call in the media during SEC Media Days as a car wash, where you're on multiple outlets all over. So I know this exploded overnight. And I really appreciate, one, the fact that you are kind of like me in a similar sense. When I started the podcast, I'm always thinking of ideas to do more. What can separate ourselves from other content creators? So this idea that you come up with and what you have going, I really appreciate that. And before we get into the segment, the fact that this ongoing deal with Saracen, Oaklawn, we've heard about that, but I really want to peel back to the beginning of your thoughts on this, what got you interested in this, and really focus on the positives. How this can, because this has got lost in transition of this whole 2 weeks per se. It's been a back and forth, and a lot of people have forgotten about what your main goal is to do. Bring NIL, bring money into the athletic department, which we'll get into a little bit later. I'm not saying football, basketball, baseball. We're talking about athletic department. So we'll begin with just what really stemmed your idea of the thought of coming up with an idea, not just specifically this idea, but an idea to generate NIL money to the University of Arkansas, and then what led to this whole idea of a potential 50-50 deal with Arkansas Edge.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for having me on. You're right. I have been on a car wash, but that's the way we do things at Saracen. We're wide open, and whether it's, our folks on with Randy Rainwater on the buzz, or whether it's, TV commercials or folks speaking for us, we're a wide open book. And, to anyone who's watching this, I would say, call us at the casino. We are wide open. You will not find other casinos in this state as forthcoming as we are. And that's not a shot at them. It's just the way we've chosen to operate our business. We are transparent. When I go talk to a Rotary Club or whatever it may be, the only question I won't answer is how much cash do you keep in the vault? Everything else is wide open. There's no more heavily regulated business in our state than gambling. And when people tell me, oh, well, I'm a banker, you don't understand. Well, the state is in our building 24/7, 365. They have full access to everything. So there's no reason not to be transparent. Our business is wide open, and I'm tickled to be on here to talk about this. So let me tell you where this really came from. Because people say, well, this is too good to be true. Saracen's going to do it and not make any money. What's the catch? This is a very simple thing. We identified a problem. We identified a solution. And the NIL, what we're here to talk about, was just a bonus. So the problem we can quantify. So the American Gaming Association put out a report recently that said $500 billion is bet illegally each year. So you adjust that number, $500 billion, right? I'm not used to saying trillion. $500 billion with a T, 500 billion is bet illegally. Adjust that number for the adult population in Arkansas, and you'll find that somewhere in the realm of about $5 billion is bet illegally in Arkansas every year. And a good chunk of that is on illegal online casinos. I've caught hell for calling it, a China problem, but that's absolutely what it is. These illegal online casinos are in many instances linked to China. They've got servers in places like Malta or the Isle of Man or a bunch of other places that, most people aren't really familiar with. So good luck stopping them. There is a solution, though. And the solution is to do exactly what the state of Michigan did. So Michigan took a two-pronged approach. They said, we will legalize this for legitimate actors, the casinos in Michigan. And we will put heavy, heavy heat on the bad guys. Heavy, heavy heat alone won't stop somebody who's, headquartered overseas and has their servers, on some shadowy place. But you take a replacement, which is a legalized casino alternative, and the heat, and you put them together and they go, to hell with this. We're going to another state where they're not onto us yet. And that's exactly what happened in Michigan. So you will find don't trust me, Google it. I don't like to say the names of the illegal casinos because they're in the App Store and the Google Play Store, and I don't want to encourage people to use them. But the parent company of one of these outfits is VGW. VGW. So just Google VGW Michigan. Don't take my word for it. And what you'll find are a whole host of articles about VGW saying, we're leaving, bye-bye. You got 90 days to get the money out of your casino accounts. And that is remarkable, Porter, if you think about it. I said to somebody, it would be like if the cartel said, hey, we're no longer shipping fentanyl to Arkansas. Here's a press release, right? And look, you don't have to take my word for it again, right? Even the federal government has said these are money laundering organizations, they're organized crime, and they even went so far as to say they're linked to terrorism. I realize that sounds dramatic and self-serving, but those aren't my words. That's law enforcement. So problem, $5 billion a year being bet illegally. Solution, pretty simple. Do what Michigan did. We know it worked. And in fact, Delaware is looking to try it right now. The NIL was a bonus. So where did the NIL come from? The NIL actually came from Northwest Arkansas. Look, I won't take credit for it. It wasn't our idea. I worked very closely with a state senator on this issue who understood that more gambling was not necessarily good, but that we already had gambling on our phones in Arkansas. It was just the profit was going to countries that hate us and wanted to use the money against us. What this state senator said to me was, I'm not necessarily for gambling online, but I'm a realist. We already have it, right? We already have it with illegal offshore casinos. We already have it with horse racing. We have for 10 years, right? I think I still had a BlackBerry 10 years ago. We were on like iPhone 3, but we were booking horses in 2014. Here in 2024, the world is different. In 2014, you probably didn't use an app for your bank. You didn't use an app for SoundCloud or whatever else it is folks use, right? Everything today has an app, and 80% of all all web traffic is mobile today. And that number just goes up and up and up each day. 2014, we had to have horse racing on the phone in Arkansas, right? And I'm not trying to throw shade. It's just the truth. There was an insistence that thoroughbred horse racing needed to be on the phones or, the world was going to end. So what we proposed was really the idea that came to us through this state senator via Northwest Arkansas and the Edge Collective, which was this idea of a 50-50. So Saracen's proposal is pretty simple. We need games of chance authorized. So right now in Arkansas, poker is legal in the four borders of the state. Sports are legal in the four borders of the state. But the rest of the casino games of chance, like a slot machine or something like that, they're legal only in the four walls of the casino. So you got two geographic distinctions, right? Poker and sports were expanded to the full state. Slots, tables, and the like, only in the four walls of a casino. Our proposal is to amend the poker rule, Rule 5. That's why you hear me tweet about Rule 5, to allow all games of chance to occur statewide. What that does for us, we can displace the Chinese casinos or the China Link casinos or whatever you want to call them, provide an alternative product that is taxed at 20%, by the way. And so you're looking at a $20 million infusion, we believe, in taxes almost immediately. We think at maturity, you're looking at 90 million in taxes. But none of that is what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is the NIL and the concept of the 50-50. So that really was like the caboose on the back of the train. And people say, why does Saracen, what's the catch? Why do they care so much? Well, since March, we've been public about our desire to legalize games of chance on the phone. We believe that it's better that an Arkansas company make money at it and pay taxes at it than somebody overseas. But if we can do NIL with it, it's a win-win. And this is how good ideas develop. And I can't take credit for this one again. It came from Northwest Arkansas. So we worked with our technology partner, a company called Amelco. They're based in the UK. They built our sports book for us. They've done some work with Fanatics Sportsbook and Hard Rock, incredible company. We challenged them to come up with a product that would allow statewide 50-50 drawings. And you know what? It works. It's built and we're ready. What's not ready are the regs. We've proposed a gaming regulation change and we've been hit with a number of speed bumps. And I am extremely disappointed in that. And let me say this, Porter, I worked in politics for a long time, so I'm not naive, right? I understand how things work, but I'm extremely disappointed that even for the hogs, folks can't come together. And so our primary speed bump has been opposition from another casino who themselves admitted on the buzz that they are opposed to our broader plan. Now they'll say, oh, we want to help the hogs. I get it. But if you want to help the hogs, get out of the way, because realistically, this illegal offshore gambling problem will help you as well, right? I can only surmise that perhaps they're not prepared, or they recognize Saracen's dominance in the sportsbook space, and that's their opposition. But there are times when you should not be afraid to compete. And I'm not trying to be ugly. I'm not trying to throw shade, but we have technology ready, and we have a rule change ready that would allow 50-50 drawings. Now, when we first started this, you may have seen I had my head down for a minute. I was texting you something.
Yeah.
You're welcome to share it with our viewers, but look at it later. But I'm looking at it on my phone.
Yeah, I was scrolling through that.
This is Edmonton.
2 million.
Yeah.
A week.
Why am I looking at hockey hockey drawings in Canada? Well, because an amazing thing happens in Edmonton. So Alberta has about 4.3 million people in it. We've got about 3 million people. So they're a little bit bigger than we are. They run 50-50 drawings that are geofenced to the state of Alberta, the province of Alberta. And those are the numbers they're doing. 50-50. So when you see the check, and I hope you can share this link with the viewers, but when you see the size of these checks, remember there's an equivalent amount that goes to the charity or the cause they're raising money for. And if you scroll through their portal, you'll see there are more 7-figure checks than there are 6, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So when I talk about being able to do $250,000 a week, that is a conservative estimate. I don't want to promise the world. No one has ever done this in the United States, and it's never been done for NIL. I think you will begin to see it. We've had a lot of inquiries from folks in other states. It's been on the Ole Miss message boards. It's on Oklahoma talk radio. Now that OU is, in the SEC, they're looking at what we're doing. So we're getting calls from other states, but our desire is to turn it on for the Razorbacks and for the Red Wolves and for the Reddies and the Wonder Boys and the Sugar Bears and everyone else. But it's ready. And again, look at the Edmonton links. There's only 1 million people in that province more than are here. And they're doing 2 million, 3 million. It was a bad week. We only did 400,000, right? These are very conservative numbers. And these drawings can be run as frequently as you'd like. So you say you want to open it on Tuesday, Wednesday, and do the draw during the beginning of the fourth quarter. No problem. Our folks have met with the athletic department. The athletic department's been very clear. We need all sources of revenue. We need to get creative. And it's kind of fun. If you talk to somebody who's gut level honest from one of the athletic departments, they'll say things like, we got to do stuff today that would have given our program the death penalty 3 years ago, because there's a need to compete. But the bottom line is we are ready. We have a lot of support within the legislature. I believe the governor's office, I think that, first of all, I'm a fan of Governor Sanders. I voted for her. I've been supportive of her. I think they're relying on some bad information. And I think that you may have read in the paper, there's some belief that this is a charity raffle and therefore charity raffle provisions apply. That's just fake news. It's not applicable. And I think she's a great leader. I know she's a Razorback fan. And I think there's some smoke screen that someone may have put out, and it may be the same folks that, again, have been fighting us this whole way. But I'm confident that with the right information, the right legal interpretation, great leadership like Governor Sanders will make the right call. I'm a big fan, and that may not make all your viewers happy, but I think she's done a hell of a job for our state. So once she gets comfortable with this, we go to the Racing Commission and we have a hearing on a rule change, the same exact process, by the way, by which we legalized online sports betting. And then finally, it goes to a legislative committee for ratification. All of that can happen at any point. That process takes about 45 days. That's why we began to have this conversation in June before we even had the product ready. And then at the end of July is really when I started really going public, because we were meeting opposition that made no sense. And look, our casino is going to do just fine, whether or not there is online gambling. But what I know is that our program, our Razorback program, is not. And that's not a sign of weakness for the Hogs. Every program in the country needs more NIL money. So what we've got ready at no cost, with us making no profit, is one hell of a product that we believe can conservatively throw off a $250,000 a week.
When we're talking about game of chance, and some, I don't even know if you've been asked this question, but I come across when you said game of chance is illegal, and I remember the pull tabs. They still do them at bingo halls and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
What is the difference? And if you've already been asked this, refresh everybody's memory. What's the difference in being able to go on ArkansasLotto.com and playing lottery games online opposed to what you're doing or wanting to do? What's the difference? Because they're saying this is a game of chance, but if you go on ar.lotto.com, that's the Arkansas Lottery website.
You can buy lottery
What's
tickets.
Different.
Lotto.com, Jack Pocket, which DraftKings bought. You can buy lottery tickets on your phone. You can bet horses on your phone. You can play poker on your phone. That was legal, by the way, since day one.
So what makes what you're trying to do? I mean, separate the difference in this 50-50.
Sure. So for the purposes of casino gaming, you've got a couple of different verticals, right? So sports betting is its own category.
Mm-hmm.
The game of poker is its own category because it's not a house-banked game. You're playing against other players instead of winning house money. And so the games of chance is kind of a broader term for things like a slot machine, right?
Okay.
But practically speaking, it is no different, right? And the concept of gambling on the phone, I get people's moral objections to that. I get it, totally. I'm a very conservative person politically, but I believe that casinos really have three obligations. And if we don't meet all three, you need to kick us out. You need to change the Constitution again and delete the casinos. The first obligation is to hire a bunch of people and pay them really well. And we do that. The second obligation is to pay a whole bunch in gaming taxes. And we do 20% of everything we make right off the top in gaming taxes. The third obligation is perhaps the most important, and that is to keep the money here. And I think that's why the voters of Arkansas legalized casino gaming, because they were tired of the money, you're in Ozark, spilling over into eastern Oklahoma. And in Texarkana, they were tired of the money spilling over into Shreveport-Bossier. And in eastern Arkansas, they were tired of it going to Mississippi. And that's it, right? Keep the money in our economy. Well, this proposal for casino games of chance to be done online would employ folks and help support Arkansas businesses. We would create an enormous windfall in the form of taxes. I mean, just for cities and counties alone, it would be dramatic, the counties and cities in which the cities sit. But for the state, you're talking about an additional probably $40 to $45 million when the product is mature on the gaming portion of it. But the fact that we can keep the money here is the most important. You know, when I talk about legalizing casino gaming in Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, we're talking about keeping the money in the state. When we talk about illegal casinos on your phone, I'm talking about keeping the money in the country now.
Yeah.
And if we're worried if the money goes to Oklahoma, it may never come back. You can bet your you-know-what that if it goes to China on the phone, it is never coming back. So again, it's not a question of whether we have, you know, these games already. Like you said, you can bet the lottery on your phone. You can bet horses on your phone, poker, sports. And frankly, we're inundated with illegal online gambling as it is today. What we're saying is let's make some lemonade out of this lemon, right? Let the casino make some money. Great, right? Don't feel sorry for us, but let us make the money instead of, you know, countries that don't care for us, people who are identified as organized crime, who are using this money for very nefarious things. Even the Philippines just recently banned the casinos online. Good luck. I don't know how you're going to ban them by just banning them. But the Democrat Gazette covered the story and quoted Filipino authorities as saying these are linked to kidnapping, murder, terrorism, the whole bit. And that's in the Philippines. They get it. Now, without authorizing a replacement, you can't stop them. That's why Michigan is the only state that's been able to do it, because your nasty letters aren't going to get it done. I'll tell you a quick story. So the state identified some illegal sports books that were operating online in Arkansas. There were two of them, and they sent two letters. One was based in New York, and one was based in Georgia. Not the country of Georgia, like in Eastern Europe, far away. No, like the state of Georgia. So the one in New York said, you know what? You're right. What we're doing is not okay. We'll stop. The one in Atlanta, Georgia said, to hell with y'all. And it's still up. So if we can't stop an illegal online sports book in Atlanta, a place we've got direct flights to, not that the flight matters, but I mean, that's how close they are. We have a direct flight to where this illegal sports book is housed, and we can't shut them down as a state. How in the world are you going to shut something down that's, based in Australia or China or with servers in Malta? The only way to do it is to replace the bad actor with an Arkansas company. And that's what we proposed. And if we can raise an enormous amount of money for NIL, it just makes it a total no-brainer. and we are confident it's legal, and we have the support. What we don't have is all of the casinos in Arkansas on board. In fact, we have one actively working to thwart this effort.
And what about the ones? Because I mean, there's been an ongoing battle about proposing a casino in Russellville with the Choctaw and Cherokee Nation.
Oh,
Pretty
yeah.
much. So them trying to come in the long run. I mean, you could potentially have 3, 4, 5 entities doing the same cause, raising the same amount of money for the same cause. And
So
I
you're
think
capped at 4 casinos in the amendment. The Russellville Casino would be the last one in its current version. Of course, the Choctaw Nation is looking to take the Russellville location out. We stayed out of that fight. We're in the middle of a construction project. We've got 11 stories of the hotel out of the ground. By this time next year, Porter, we'll have 1 million square foot under roof at Saracen, right? 15-story hotel tower, 320 hotel rooms, 1,600 seat concert hall. We've got the best restaurant in Arkansas 4 years running in the Red Oak. I mean, we got plenty to keep us busy. Bet Saracen's the 14th biggest sports book in America. So believe me, we got our hands full with or without Russellville. And I would only say this is not something we've sought as a monopoly. That's another piece of fake news that has been put out there, that Saracen's wanting a monopoly on these drawings. No, my hope is that Southland would run them. Oaklawn would run them. Saracen would run them. If there's a Russellville casino, the Russellville casino would run them. And we could have 3 or 4 folks all running NIL drawings, benefiting all of the programs in our state.
Yeah, and that's what I was meaning when I brought up the Russellville casino. I mean, you're adding another casino that could potentially help the cause, opposed to but all right. So when we're talking about, the NIL, everybody just automatically looks at football, basketball, baseball. Yes, you're proposing you could do this for all the schools. Just when we talk about this from an athletic department standard, just with your estimate and your knowledge of what you think this could generate, what percentage of these athletic programs could you see being significantly funded from this idea?
So much of that depends on the fan base, but I think we're fairly confident that the Hogs are the dominant brand in the state, right? That's a no-brainer. Just like this idea, no-brainer. Obvious that the Hogs are the dominant brand in the state. But I have gotten so many phone calls from folks who went to school in Jonesboro who are excited at the premise of this. The price tag for being in the SEC is expensive, and it will only get more and more expensive. It's an arms race. So if we've got 30 million, somebody else is going to have 40, and we're going to need 50 and then 60. I've had people call and say, I hate NIL, but I love what you're doing. And to that, I'm kind of the same mindset. Someone said, well, this is all going to go away. Well, A, how are you going to put the toothpaste back in the tube? And B, are you okay with our program imploding in the interim? No. Well, where's the fighting spirit? Let's get behind the Hogs. So when we opened Bet Saracen, we got so much attention because as an independent sports book, we do tremendous volume. And I remember I said a couple years ago to a reporter who was in New Jersey, he didn't really understand that we don't have pro teams in Arkansas. I said, we have our own kind of pro team. They're just a college. And it's where I went to school. It's the Arkansas Razorbacks. That's our pro team for our state. But what I said to him was, it seems like when the Hogs are winning, our Kansans smile a little easier. We stand a little taller. Everybody's day's a little better. It is really almost an indicator of the state's mood. We've got a way to give us an elite program with the kind of money that, people in Texas would dream of. We're not a wealthy state. We're the smallest state geographically west of the Mississippi River. We only have 3 million people. And what the program in Fayetteville has are a whole lot of what I would call transactional donors. So they are people that give enough to maintain status. And I appreciate every one of those donors, right? So you give enough to get your parking pass, or you give enough to retain your seats. And this is not for me to throw shade at those folks. Every dollar counts. And we appreciate it. I say that as a fan. I'm not speaking on behalf of the university, but I think they'd say the same thing. They appreciate every donor. But we have transactional donors, give to get, and then we have philanthropic donors, folks up here who are on a monthly basis writing checks with lots of zeros. Yeah. What we need are folks in the middle. Somebody who might say, this is awesome. I could win a chance. I have a shot at $250,000 or $300,000, $400,000. And if I lose, oh, well, the money's going to go to the NIL and make the Hogs better. That's awesome. So it's a voluntary way for someone to support their program. But you also have the fun of the fact that you could win a whole bunch of money. The casino's not making anything off of it. And somebody said this on another piece I did, and I think they're right. Before long, we'll have a winner who says, I don't want it. I want the whole thing to go back to the program. That's the way our state is. And you can bet somebody's going to do that before long. But if you're a Red Wolf fan, right? I don't know why you're watching this if you're a Red Wolf fan, but if you're a Red Wolf fan, look, what if it was $50,000 a week or $30,000 a week? That's game-changing money in the Sun Belt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for UA Little Rock and the Trojans, they could do this for basketball. You know, Saracen is in Pine Bluff. For UAPB, this is game-changing money. I mean, even playing the Razorbacks, like's happening this week, is game-changing money for UAPB. We've been tremendously helpful to them. I mean, if you think about it, you know, programs like UAPB, everything matters. So all of our contributions have helped. We built them a student-athlete success center. It's a Saracen Student-Athlete Success Center because they didn't have the computer lab. They didn't have the resources like a lot of programs have. So for somebody like Fayetteville, yeah, a couple $100,000 a week, we can go get all the players we want. Yeah. But for somebody like, I don't know, Arkansas Tech or UCA, 10, 15,000 a week is a game changer, but it's voluntary. So if you're the biggest mule rider fan in Arkansas and you're a wealthy guy and you want to buy 5,000 tickets a week to the mule rider drawing, you just gave $5,000 a week into a thing where half of it's going to the pot and half of it's going to your school. Maybe you like buying drawing tickets more than direct contributions, but it's a way folks can help. And that's the way we are as Arkansans. We've built the technology. We've already paid for it. It's ready to go. I was hopeful we'd be running a drawing at the first game here at War Memorial. There's no realistic way that will happen in the next 2 days. Yeah. But I need everybody to get on the same page. And I'm confident that when everything is out and all the facts are on the table, this idea that it's not legal will be debunked. Just like the original misinformation campaign that the Hogs don't need NIL money was debunked. That was the first speed bump we hit, and that's really what set me off. But yeah, every program could benefit from this. And again, back to what I said, 10, 15 minutes ago, Google everything I've said, right? Don't trust me, right? So Google VGW Michigan. Watch how it replaced the illegal casinos and they voluntarily left. Google Edmonton Oiler 50-50, or you can put the link out there, Porter.
Yeah, they'll be in the comments when we post this. Yes.
Yeah. It speaks for itself. 4.3 million people are doing those kind of numbers in Alberta. 3 million people in Arkansas. We can raise a couple of $100,000 a week for the Hogs. No problem.
And that's the end goal. So what is, wrapping up on this, what is the next step that where you're trying to, I know you had said earlier in a previous interview, it would take 45 to 60 days for this to, if it went through the process, to get passed and get rolling. So what is the next step? What's the next meeting, or where's your next hurdle at? And when is that next meeting to where you can see there can be, see some progress in this?
So the first hurdle is, and I am, if nothing, I guess, consistent. We would love a chance to explain to Oaklawn what they clearly don't see, which is the threat of illegal online gambling, right? So the threat is not competition in Russellville. The threat is not, anything else. It's online gambling illegally. And folks say, well, you're going to, the term they use is cannibalize. You're just going to eat the bricks and mortar customers. People will stop visiting your property if they can play online. Well, two things to that. One, if you're so concerned about online gambling, get on board. Wouldn't you want to get in the business if you thought that it was going to eat you alive? If cannibalization was occurring, wouldn't you rather cannibalize your own business than let the Chinese pick the bones apart from your slot play? But number two, we have, as I mentioned, a construction project ongoing right now. $250 million addition to the property. We've made a $250 million bet that online gaming will not hurt the property one bit. That's money where your mouth is. If we believed for one moment that turning on games of chance, slots and table games on the telephone would hurt our business, why would we build a hotel and an event center? We'd have just saved the $250 million. But the hurdle, I think, is educating our friends who I respect. We're standing on their shoulders. The guys in Oaklawn are the OGs, the original gamblers of Arkansas. Been doing this for over 100 years. Been booking horses on the phone for over a decade. And so the first hurdle is really getting them on board. How to do that? Your guess is as good as mine. But my advice is that if you have friends or you know folks at Oaklawn, you might share with them that this would help everyone. It's a rising tide that will lift all boats in Arkansas. And most importantly, it will lift the hog boat. That's not what we set out to do. This program was designed initially to displace the illegal offshore casinos. But the NIL thing, man, that was like that just helps the medicine go down, right? It's for folks that were a little struggling with this or didn't understand it. It makes it a complete and total no-brainer. So, I'm hopeful that Oaklawn will realize what is at their door. I think Bet Saracen, with its dominance in the online gaming space, again, 14th biggest online sports book in America, I feel like the folks who work on the sports book know what they're talking about. And the folks who run our online operation know what they're talking about. And they are telling us this is a red alert, 3-alarm fire. The illegal sweepstakes are here. The illegal sweepstakes casinos are here. I don't question my friends in Hot Springs on thoroughbred horses. They're experts at it. They run one of the finest, if not the finest, horse racing track in America. And I wish they would listen to our warnings about online gaming, because just like they know horses, we've proven that we know gambling on the internet. But I'll tell you, Porter, I think that may be the rub. I think it may be that because Bet Saracen is such a dominant force, there may be some concern that they can't compete in the space. And, old timers would call that mad at your money. Just because you're not going to be, number one at something. First of all, who knows, right? Why wouldn't you be? But because you're concerned you might not be the dominant force in something, you want to hold it up for everyone. I had a friend, and this is a little bit kind of throwback. Your older viewers will know this. That old movie Fatal Attraction with Glenn Close.
Yeah.
If I can't have him, no one can. And everybody remembers the scene with the boiled rabbit. There's a little bit of that going on, which is if we're not going to be the best at it, we're going to do everything we can to make sure no one does it, even if it hurts the Razorbacks. And I am hopeful that my friends in Hot Springs, if they're watching, my phone is available. We want to meet. On top of that, though, we've got a lot of smart folks in the Capitol who are reviewing this, and I am confident that they will recognize that charity raffle statutes for the $100 permit you get at DFNA to do a Knights of Columbus raffle in the church basement, that is not casino gaming. And those regulations have nothing to do with casino gaming. We would not have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into this technology if we weren't 100% sure it was absolutely legal. So we look forward to making our case, both to Oaklawn and to the regulators. But I am confident that this one, displacing illegal offshore bad actors, generating tens of millions in taxes, and raising tons of money for every athletic program in the state, it sounds too good to be true. But I've tried to be as transparent as I can about how we came to it. And the NIL, it was just the bonus. And that's all it'll ever be. Because if the only reason folks want to do this is for NIL, they're missing the point that our industry is in jeopardy. And states like Michigan have acted to protect Arkansas jobs, Arkansas taxes, except it was up there in Michigan. So let's raise some tax money, put some more folks to work, help some Arkansas companies, and raise some money for the Hogs. Coach Pittman doesn't need to be dialing for dollars in the fall. And that's what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
Sam is dialing for dollars. He needs to be taking care of his players. And whether or not we think Coach Cal has enough money or not, there's never enough money. He doesn't need to be dialing for dollars either. And the same with Van Horn and all the other programs, right? So we have an incredible women's golf team. Wouldn't it be great to be able to support the women's golf team? I know that's, probably not the focus of the Hog Talk podcast, but we have all these programs. And in July, the problem doesn't go away with revenue sharing next July. It's still there. That's another misconception. So anyway, I know I've rambled a long time, but we've got a hell of a plan, and we've got the tech stack built, and I wish we could be doing our first 50-50 drawing on Thursday.
I have a feeling, first it was the transfer portal, took time people to get used to that. Then it was the NIL. Then you combine them both. But you look at what Ohio State's done in their $20 million for their football team. You're seeing if you want to be, and let's throw out Dabo. I'm a Clemson Tiger fan through and through. Dabo is totally against NIL. He has said it, and now you've seen the fall of an elite program in 2 to 3 years because of that. And I think with this new thing, it's change. There's a lot of people who don't want change. They're scared of change, and they don't want to let go of it. I think when everything clears up, this is going to be something that will be done. I think you're right that you have full confidence that it's going to. I think it will too. and we'll put it in again in the comment section after we post this later on. The Edmonton Oiler one, when you're seeing the $2 million checks, knowing that potentially if Arkansas sports is doing good, you could potentially just half the year, 26 weeks out of the year, you're raising $1 million a week. So you're looking at $26 million off of one entity. That's an estimate, but that could be what potential could go into
but
that.
If it's half of it, it's another 13 million, right? I mean, that's insane money. And the other thing we know about this is that things like this, they grow. So, the first game or the second game will not be what this throws off, which is why, again, we wanted to start with a Little Rock game and progress. And we can run them home and away as often as any program wants us to run them. Again, these aren't our numbers. We're looking at Edmonton and watching what they're doing with about the same population as we have. And by the way, their charities that they're supporting are great causes, but it's different charities. It's the Humane Society, or it's, Cancer Society, or very laudable causes. But I don't think they speak to folks' heart the way that their athletic programs might, particularly the Hogs. So the conservative part of me that never wants to overpromise and underdeliver says, what if we just did a fourth of what they're doing in Canada? Okay. That's going to be something like $250,000, right? Because most of those checks you see are 7-figure checks. The part of me that knows Arkansas fans, though, knows we'll do every bit what Canada's doing. And if that's the case, now you're talking 50-60 million to the NIL program, and we may have a war chest. And we can, I hate to say it, but it's reality. We can buy the best team in the country, and everybody in Arkansas smile a little more, and everybody in Arkansas stand a little taller, and we'll have a whole lot to talk about. Or we can stand in the way, which is what's happening in Hot Springs. And I hate it. If we can't come together for the Hogs, what are we going to come together for?
Exactly. Well, Carlton, I really appreciate your time tonight. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And again, taking a different angle, getting that positive outlook. I mean, everybody's come together and chose sides and back and forth. And this is the main cause of what you're wanting to do, and really highlight what you're wanting to do. And hopefully it's successful. Hopefully we can get things passed, because this is going to do nothing but help the University of Arkansas. So I appreciate that for that.
Thank you. I'm 100% confident it will pass. The only thing I'm not confident about is when. So I know it's going to pass, and I know it's not going to be on our timeline, but something this good needs to happen. And I think we have such great leadership in this state. I think we'll come around to it before you know it. It should have been this Thursday.
Well, that will do it for this special episode of the Hog Talk podcast. Again, thank you to all of our sponsors for making this happen. We'll come to you live tomorrow night, 6:30, normal time, our brand new day on Wednesday. We'll catch you tomorrow night.